Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 3rd December, Monday today. We will start our day with this very important quote by Malala Yousafzai. The best way to solve problems and to fight against war is through dialogue. Dialogue is such a powerful tool. If we want to avoid a war, we have to talk. If we want to stop a war, we have to talk. So dialogue is one of the most important things. With this, dear friends, our pen drive and tablet courses are important as well for your preparation. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. You'll find the demo lectures as well. And if you have any question or queries regarding it, you can feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now today is Monday and we have many articles on our table, but we have to pick and choose. And I have gone through all of them, and the most important article that I find for the day is this one: Job Creation at the Farmer's Doorstep. This article is written by a BJP parliamentarian, and generally speaking, what we find is that when articles are written by politicians, they are bit political in nature. But here this gentleman here, Firoz Varun Gandhi, is a very good writer. I have gone through many of his articles. Most of the time he writes for the Hindu newspaper. And if we'll go through his article, even though if he is a MP of BJP, member of parliament of BJP, then as well, you'll find that he will not refrain himself from being critical about government's scheme. And critical is not just about, or critical analysis is not just about finding faults. Finding fault is not bad thing if you are providing solutions with that fault finding. So critical analysis is about identifying issues and then providing practical solutions for that particular issue. So that's what you find in most of the time. That's what my personal experience has been. In my opinion, Firoz Varun Gandhi's articles are quite important. So we are going to go through this one. Then we have this slowdown signals. This one is about GDP. This is going to be our number 2. If you were present during yesterday's classes, then we have talked about this demise of George H.W. Bush. He was 41st president of USA. We have talked about some important work that he has done during his tenure. So this editorial is basically about his demise and his contribution. So if you have extra time, you can quickly go through it. As far as your examination is concerned, you don't have to, it's not that important, to be honest. Then we are going to talk about this sharing outbreak data, very important article again. It's going to be number 3. And the fourth and the last one is going to be this one: disability is not a defining feature. We'll talk about, this article is about a film trailer of this film called Zero, and Shah Rukh Khan's films. I'm sure many of you are aware about this trailer, and so we'll talk about it. But then we have these 2 articles here. This one is about discussing an editorial not important for your examination, and this one is about Sing like an urban Naxal. I have gone through this one as well. If you have extra time, you can go through it, or else it's fine. It's talking about a song, and about a particular song that is written on this urban Naxal, and there are things associated with it, but not that important as far as your examination is concerned. So let's start with the most important one: job creation at the farmer's doorstep. Now, yesterday's discussion, Sunday analysis, was based on this special topic, was based on milk sector, and I'm sure many of you, if I tell you now, job creation at farmer's doorstep, the first thing that will come to your mind hopefully will be this thing, that milk sector. Focus on milk sector and we can change the whole scenario of our country. And you are right as well, because we have seen this thing yesterday. We have gone through this fact that it is going to be bigger than IT industry. IT has created, information technology has created jobs in urban area, but milk sector is going to create, and in fact it is creating jobs in rural area. So that's the beauty of milk sector. So you have one thing, right? You have this right point in your mind, milk sector. But apart from milk sector, we have to pay attention to other items as well. Like you have this Rithu Bandhu scheme of Telangana government. I strongly believe that we have talked about this sort of scheme earlier on as well, but it's been a long time, so I am going to talk about it Again, it's going to be a revision, as well as for new students, it's going to be something new, a new concept, right? It's a very innovative approach, this Ritu Bandhu scheme. What happens is you get MSP, that is minimum support price, for your crop, right? This is a price that you will get post production when you are going out there to sell your final product in the market. At that point of time, you get this money, MSP. So once you get this money, you have already paid. You have to pay for interest. If you have borrowed money, then you have to pay, interest on that thing. And so paying interest is again an expense for a farmer, isn't it? If a small farmer or a marginal farmer or any farmer, if he or she has to borrow money from the market for some inputs basically means seeds, and you have borrowing tractors, or all these things that are required for your production. If you have to borrow money for that, then you will have to pay interest as well. So finally, it is going to be an expense for you guys. So MSP is good, right? It protects a farmer, that it is a promise that you will get minimum this much price for your production for per kilo, right? MSP is basically decided by government, and it is released as well. Now the thing is, it is post-production thing, but this Ritu Bandhu Yojana, or the Ritu Bandhu scheme, under this scheme, Telangana government is providing 8,000 rupees per acre to each and every land owning farmer. So what happens here is that you will not get any sort of MSP, but before your production, you will get 8,000 rupees per acre, so that you can buy input, you can cover up your input and everything, whatever you need. You can do whatever you like with this 8,000 per acre. You can hire a tractor, you can hire laborers, you can do whatever you like. But once your production is ready, you will not get anything. Means not get anything in the sense you will not get this MSP support. You have to sell your items in a free market. So it's not that bad. It's in fact good as well, because what happens with MSP is that many a times, MSP will limit your potential. If something can be sold for 15 rupees, and if MSP is set up for 10 rupees, then this market will pay you somewhere around 10 rupees, maybe 10 and a half or 11 rupee. So many a times MSP can create issues as well. Now this thing looks all right, and it is good as well, because money is transferred via DBT, direct benefit transfer. But if we go through this analysis of Credit Suzy, then it says that large farmers get more, like 9% of farmers with more than 5 acres, they earn 34% of the total payouts of this Ritu Bandhu scheme. Now the situation in our country is that we have marginal, we have small, we have medium, and we have large farmers in our country. Now, generally speaking, large and medium farmers are doing well. It is small and marginal farmers, their situation is quite rough. And we have, of course, less amount of, out of all the farmers that we have. When I say farmers, I'm talking about all those individuals who are engaged in agriculture. And then you can divide them into land farmers owning land, and then you have LLs, like landless farmers. So of course the situation of farmer with a piece of land is bit better, and out of this those farmers who are holding large and medium size of land, their situation is better compared to the small and marginal farmers. And small and marginal farmers situation, financial as well as economic situation, is bit better compared to those farmers who are doing farming, who are engaged in agriculture, but they don't have any land of their own. They have to work for someone else. So large farmers, generally speaking, they don't need this sort of support. These farmers constitute 9% of all the farmers in Telangana government. In Telangana, they are taking away 9%. This 9% farmers are taking away 34% of total payout of this Telangana government. So what we need to do here is we need to fix it, right? Identifying a problem is a first step, but now we have to fix this problem. So what we can do is we can use data analytics. At today's era, this is possible. We can use this data analytics, and then we can find out, how many farmers, large farmers as well. It's not always that a large farmer is always wealthy, But in case if a farmer is holding huge amount of land, but he or she is not doing good, then support should be provided. But those well-off farmers, they should not be provided with any sort of support, because they have access to loans and formal loans and so many other things. Now, NABARD is a big name. I'm sure you have heard about NABARD. NABARD stands for National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. And it has released All India Rural Financial Inclusion Survey. And as per this survey, average monthly income of rural household is 8,000 rupee, right? This is not about per person. This is about average monthly income of a rural household. So 8,000 rupees for a family of 5 is peanuts, isn't it? It's not that good money at all. And agricultural household are deriving in fact only 43% of their total income from agriculture. So out of this 88,000, just imagine 40%, let's say 50% approx, right? For our understanding, 4,000 they are earning from this piece of land, and rest of this 4,000 is coming from some sort of labor work and some sort of other thing. So, of course, again, one thing that will pop up in your mind is milk production. Stick with milk production and you will earn more. Yes, that's right. And we are going to talk about this thing as well. And one more thing that I would like to add here, that those farmers, right, small and marginal farmers, their income compared to non-agricultural farmers or those farmers who are not holding, any sort of land, their income is bit higher. But at the same time, those small and marginal farmers having piece of land, the average debt is 1 lakh rupees, and average debt of those families who don't have piece of land, their depth is 76,000. So here you can see a sort of balance. Here their income is a bit higher, at the same time their depth is higher. Here income is low and their depth is also a bit low. So it's okay. It means, of course, it's not a good situation, but if we compare them, then they are on the same boat. Now, doubling farmers' income is a good idea. We are working on this thing as well. Government has started providing 150% MSP. That means if your total input cost is 100 rupees, then at least you will get 50 rupees extra. So your total sale price will be, market price that you will get is, or sales price that you will get will be minimum 150 rupees. So this is what government is doing at present, but at the same time, this is not the most healthy way, because as you know that we should let things. The problem with our farmers is that they buy things in retail and they sell items in wholesale. So that's a big problem. And MSP is, as you know, as I have already explained, that MSP is not always, you cannot justify it all the time. It's not always showing us the real picture. Now, this doubling farmers' income and this MSP that is provided, it is helping farmers, right? It directly helps those farmers who have a piece of land. What about those farmers who don't have anything with them? So Daniel Coppard, back in 2001, he came out with this recommendation that people in rural area, particularly those farmers, right, landless farmers as well as small piece of land holding farmers, they need to diversify their non-farm incomes. They need to embrace non-farm diversification. Like poultry is there, you have this looking after this milk animals, all these things are important. Packaging and something to do with industry, all these things are going to help them. So as far as this milk animals are concerned, as far as milk industry is concerned, we have talked about so many things. So today I'm not going to repeat those things, but I am going to add few things here that we need to focus on this breeding policy. This breeding policy needs to be revamped. Buffalo breeding is given more attention. At the same time, we need to focus on poultry breeding as well. We need to create this healthy competition between states, between various different states, central government and state governments. Partnership in policy implementation is something that is absolutely important. Then there are a few states who are lagging behind. We need to take them on board, and we need to push them. If they are require any sort of pushing or pulling, then this should be done. Private investment is need of the hour. We need proper health facilities for our animals at the grassroots level, and we need more R&D on this thing. So this is one area. The second area is focus on migrant workers. What we find is that particularly those people who are doing agriculture, who are working as agricultural laborers, they are routinely seeking construction-related daily wage labor to add their income to increase their income to survive basically. And the problem that they are facing at present is that when they have to migrate from one state to another state, they don't get benefits of government schemes that are going on in that particular state where they have migrated. So we need to get rid of this this identity proof. Many times they have everything, they are eligible, but because they don't have identity proof, they don't get that benefit, and things become a bit bad for them. So we need to get rid of this sort of things, right? Identity should not become a big problem as far as this basic benefits are concerned. Then access to Anganwadi is very important for upbringing of this migrant children, particularly small toddlers and kids. And registration of worker with welfare board should be made mandatory, and this should be a responsibility that should be, you can say, imposed on contractors and builders rather than workers. And once they have this registration cards, they should be linked with their Jan Dhan account so that money and everything can be, and benefits can be DBT'd, right? Direct benefit, DBT, sorry, direct benefit transfer. This sort of facilities are can be provided only when your registration cards are linked up with your Jan Dhan account. And for ladies lot, strict implementation of anti-harassment laws, as well as crash facilities. That means providing this toddler, facilities nearby construction site. All these things, right, are important. And I'm sure these ideas are not new, but the only thing that we are lacking is implementation. Right, implementation is the key. Without implementation, these great ideas will not manifest into practical world. Moving on to second item, it is easy to understand item again, because I believe it was on Saturday when we have talked about this news item. The latest report or this latest figures that are released by Central Statistical Office shows that economy's expansion predictably is bit slow. And we have discussed the reasons as well. Again, we are going to discuss this thing. The first reason is a rising oil price. Now, when the price of your fuel is going up, that means transportation will become expensive. So you have to spend more money for products and services. Things will become, it will basically kick inflation. When inflation is high or going up, you're saving. Just imagine if you used to save 1,000 rupees per month, and now inflation has gone up and you find that you are saving just 500 rupees per month. So when your saving is less, you will keep less money in bank, so less liquidity in bank. At the same time, when you know that things are becoming dearer, then you will be spending less. So less spending by consumers is basically deep in consumption as well as deep in demand. And deep in demand means your production will slow down. When your production is down, or if the pace of production is down, then people will not find that many jobs. The investment that you have made after your factories and your projects and other things, right, will come under stress. And there can be a situation where you will not be able to pay your monthly installments, and then this can result into NPA, and this can create more troubles for banks and for the whole system. So I have given you a sort of a big picture of slowdown. I have provided you worst case scenario. Now, GDP growth weakened to 7.1% from robust 8.2% in April to June. 7.1 is not bad, but it was 8.2 back in April-June quarter. So if from 8.2, if it is going to be 7.1, then that's going to be a bit of a problem, isn't it? That's what projection. That's what they are projecting. Now, 5 to 8 sectors reflecting the slowdown for the first quarter That's what they have said, and only utility services are doing well, like public administration, defense, other services. So service sector has done reasonably well. But when we talk about this primary sector, service sector is tertiary sector. When we see the situation of primary sector, agriculture, forestry, and fishing, then it has eased from, it was 5.3%, that growth was 5.3%, now it is 3.8. So again, the connection, when see most of these items that factories are producing, these factories predominantly are situated in urban area. So people living in urban area, there are high chances that they are working in, most of them are working in secondary as well as tertiary sector. That's why they are living in city area, isn't it? And rural area is more about this primary sector. So when your forestry, your agriculture, your fishing, all these things, so all these important items of primary sector, if they are not doing well, then they will be having less money. If they have less money, then they would have been spending that much. If they are not spending that much, that means all those products and services that you have created. So this will basically impact our manufacturing sector, as well as you can also say this will impact our urban sector. So this is how this whole cobweb, right? Once you touch one string, you will see this, there will be a sort of wave or a dancing, this whole cobweb will start dancing, isn't it? Now, gross fixed capital formation, GFCF, a key metric for investment demand, expanded by robust 12.5%, building on the first quarter 10% increase and constituted 32.3% of GDP. So here we can see a sort of good news. Bad news, as I told you, weakness in car or manufacturing, two-wheelers, sales, all these things are a bit down, and just automobile industry. Some 200 plus industries directly, indirectly are associated with car manufacturing. One car manufacturing, you have 200 plus industries there. Someone is supplying rubber to tire factory, someone is supplying, bearing parts and other parts, someone is supplying you glass and leather and so many things. So 200 plus industries will go down with this weakness in sales of cars and motorcycles. Controller General of Accounts and the figures released by this body are also not reassuring. Fiscal deficit situation is a bit bad because in the first 7 months itself, government has breached its target, and this target limit was 3.3% of GDP. So this means that for next 5 months, government is going to be in a very tight situation, and this will also send a negative signal in fact, it has sent a negative signal in economy. Then we have global trade, global horizon, and elections approaching. And so all these things are looming around. So I hope things are clear to you. It was very basic. Sharing outbreak data is very important. We are in the third item of the day. Zika was found in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, and very briefly I would like to inform all of you that whenever you find articles regarding Zika or Ebola, or a mention of Zika, Ebola, TB, or other dangerous diseases, then you should at least go through some basic facts associated, whether it is spread by virus or bacteria, how bad it was, which was the region, all these things. A little bit of homework, a little bit of revision is important, right? Because you find this type of questions not in your mains examination, but you find most of the times they are in your prelims. This multiple choice questions are based on this sort of items, at least one. So neither Rajasthan, in which we saw some 154 cases, in Madhya Pradesh where 127 cases were spotted, neither of these states have published the day-wise numbers of confirmed infections, and that's a reminder that how poor Indian authorities are at sharing health data. We have this thing called genetic sequence, and genetic sequence is something that is very important. ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, has genetically sequenced Zika viruses from 5 patients in Rajasthan. And how it works is that when this GS or genetic sequence is done, then it helps us understand the entry of this virus, or this Zika virus, how it came to India and for how long it has been circulating in various different parts. And based on this understanding, we can customize our outbreak response. But the sad thing is that ICMR has not published these sequences in any open access databases such as GenBank. And because of this thing, right, this epidemiologists are not able to go through all these important important facts found by ICMR. So it is extremely, this sort of GS is extremely useful for those people who are working in this field. In both cases, may it be Ebola or this Zika case, right? West Africa, Sierra Leone, and then you have Liberia, then other countries in this portion of there is a country called Guinea, right? All this Senegal, all these countries were affected by outbreak of Ebola back in 2013, and the thing that helped us in sorting out or controlling this Ebola at that point of time was our pre-existing knowledge. This data sharing played a very important role. Same thing applies or goes for this Zika virus that was quite visible in 2015 in Latin American countries, and it was controlled with the help of this past experiences as well as past data sharing. So this is the importance of this data sharing. Now moving on to this disability is not a defining feature. I'm going to be very quick here, right, because this article is important and I'm leaving on you guys to decide why this is important. I want you guys to think about it, right, that why this particular article is important. So go through this article. This article is talking about this film called Zero and its trailer, basically things that are visible in this trailer of this film called Zero. You have SRK, that is Shah Rukh Khan, who is the main lead male in this film, and then you have Anushka Sharma as well as Katrina Kaif are two female leads in this film. So the thing here is that generally so far what we have observed in Indian films is that disability or Divyangs are whenever there is a film about Divyangs or disability, it is more about showing pity, and it's more about their helplessness, and based on that we have this emotion of compassion towards them. That's something that has always been the main theme. But the writer is saying that this film is bit different. This thing is bit different because here the characters are with disabilities, but the main idea is the movie is more about this love triangle. So I'll leave it here, right? The reason I'm leaving it here is because I want you guys to think about it. It's not always necessary to focus on their most visible thing, a person with special ability. It's not important that all the time we focus on just that thing. We need to focus on some other talents that they have. They have the other identities as well. So we have some examples of Varun Kular, Divyanshu Ganatra, Nidhi Goyal. These are a few names that you find in the last bit of this article, and the extraordinary work and the spirit that this Divyangs have displayed. With this, dear friends, let's go through latest news items. A very important news item for the whole world as far as global trade, as far as global tussle is concerned. USA and China today, they have, in fact yesterday, they have decided that they are going to hold off fresh tariffs for 90 days. That means no more tariff slapping on each other for next 90 days. That is for 3 months, and they are going to negotiate. So this is a big news for the whole world. New CEC, we have got new chief election commissioner, and he is 62 and half something. So he is going to be our CEC for next 2.5 years. 2019 general election will be conducted under his leadership. If Pak wants, India can help, has been said by Rajnath Singh. And Hornbill Festival that is celebrated in Nagaland. So some 60,000 people visited this Hornbill Festival. You find this type of Hornbill Festival is from which state, this type of things in MCQ. So pay attention to this particular item. There was a constabulary exam, police constable's exam in Gujarat, and there was a paper leak, and because of this thing, lakhs and lakhs of aspirants who have traveled from one district to another, they have to come back without any examination. So this is a very sad thing, and those people who are behind this, right, there will be few individuals behind this but they don't know how much damage they have caused to the man hours of our country. 70 lakh jobs were created in 2017-18 has been said by Niti Aayog. Polls come and go, but Saharia's flight still poor. Saharia's, pay attention to Saharias as well, because you can find a question on Saharias in your MCQ in your pre-examinations, and Saharias are classified as particularly vulnerable tribal group. They are found in Rajasthan, so pay attention to this item. India and US are going to have this Air Force joint exercise called XCOP India 18, and Trump could meet Mr. Kim Jong in near future, maybe in January or Feb. RBI may maintain status quo on rates. And here you have a train called Train 18, very innovative train, and there are a few facts associated with this train. So you can, of course, download the PDF of today's lecture and help yourself with it. You can also go through this data theft increasing, some additional items just for your GK and for your overall understanding. You have vocabs here. On Saturday I provided you this picture, so all these ladies are in news because of their ranking in Forbes. And then you have today's pick based quiz. It's about these few leaders that you can see on the streets of Paris. Why they are on the streets of Paris? You can see President of France taking a walk. So what's going on in France, or in Paris to be precise? And these are your answers. These are your 2 questions. And you can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Facebook page or Twitter handle or our Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Jai Hind.